Welcome back to the Weekend Journal. I'm Jack O'Malley, and the budget situation. By next week, we won't even know what's going on, right? We'll be talking about it for a while, I'm sure. Yes. Well, here it is, the Weekend Journal, Jack O'Malley, talking about all things Lansing, kind of focusing, hopefully giving you some good information about what's happening in your state of Michigan. As many things happen in Washington, things are happening in the state of Michigan as well. I want you to know about it. A couple of things. Let's talk about it. Great Lakes Energy, one of the electric co-ops in northern Michigan, their board has approved a rate increase for its members that will be about $17 a month for the average residential member. And you're like, what? $17? It's because of the ice storms. Great Lakes Energy has an estimate of $155 million, nearly 40 times its normal level of yearly storm costs. They lost 4,300 miles of power lines and had to replace 3,100 poles. That's a ton. They said the federal aid that came from Washington is not being really helpful for the co-ops. And so President Trump signed emergency aid, right? But he didn't sign it all out. So Governor Whitmer has appealed that decision, but so far D.C. has not come through. So the power company, in this case Great Lakes Energy, has to do what they have to do to try and get everything repaired. And it's a tough situation to be in, but what are you going to do, right? You got to get the power lines back up. So that's a huge rate increase. Now, on that same front, State Representative Parker Fairbairn announced that he has gotten in that budget we've been talking about $14 million for ice storm recovery. So there was a bill that was $100 million out of the state of Michigan for storm recovery, which would go a long way to help. Problem is, it's stuck in the Senate. The Senate has not moved it. Now, one could be cynical and say that's because there's, 3 northern Michigan senators, and the rest pretty much are from mid-Michigan or urban areas. So maybe it's not as big a deal to them. I don't know. But it's sitting there in the Senate. So they were able to put $14 million into the budget that if it passes, they'll get it quicker, and at least that'll start the flow, seed the pump, if you will, or prime the pump, if you will, and we'll see if they're able to get that money to the people who need it. All right. Talking about the cannabis situation with the budget, there is a 24% wholesale tax. The Cannabis Industry Association is squawking. They're saying the industry expects to lose a minimum 14% in total sales if that goes up. The tax goes up, they say, because we would become one of the highest taxed marijuana states in the country. And the cannabis industry says, we get most of I should say most. They get a ton of business from Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, people that cross the border. And if they don't, if it gets too expensive, they won't cross the border. So we'll see what happens on that. But that's what they're saying, and they're not happy with that increase. But it was the governor's want. That was one of the things the governor wanted to do. She actually wanted a 32% wholesale tax, and they were able to talk it down to 24%. But that was a Governor Whitmer request. So the governor was in Toronto, went over to make a speech or something, and she was asked if she was going to run for president. Straightforward question. And governor said she didn't need to be, quote, the main character in whatever her next chapter might be, but she did want a hand in writing it. In front of an audience of Canadian business leaders in Toronto, the governor was asked by a Canadian journalist if she would run. She said, I don't know if I need to be the main character in the next chapter, but I want to have a hand in writing it, and I think I've got an important vantage point as the governor of an important swing state. And so I anticipate helping, but I don't know if I'm going to be the person, Whitmer said. So that's not an outright no, is it? Let's see here. The U.S. Supreme Court allowed Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, the one Trump wants to fire, saying she's mortgage fraud or something. The U.S. Supreme Court said, nope, she's got to stay in her position until we hear the case. So she does not have to leave her post, according to the Supreme Court of the United States. There was also a Rhode Island judge granted an Attorneys General coalition request to protect billions in federal emergency service funding. The court opinion held that the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Department of Homeland Security violated the Constitution and the Administrative Protective Act by conducting federal funds, conditioning federal funds on states' agreement to assist in enforcing federal immigration. Let's see here. What else? Oh, this, you heard, I'm sure, of the situation at the Church of the Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. So it's been advised by Sheriff's Association that sheriffs should offer some tactical and security training for local churches. And the Genesee County Sheriff is hosting a tactical briefing for faith-based communities tomorrow. This is Genesee County Sheriff Christopher Swanson. He's running for governor, too, by the way. Just a side note. His agency will host the briefing from 2 to 3:30. They said events, it's for all faith-based communities, churches, synagogues, mosques, and other houses of worship. I know this might not be a popular opinion with some, but I think gun-free zones are generally a dumb idea. If you look at where... there's an old joke, and it's a bad joke, but I'll say it. You don't see, these types of things happening at an NRA convention, do you? I mean, let's face it. You know that there's people in there that are generally sitting ducks, whether it be a school or it be a house of worship of some sort. Gun-free zones, law-abiding citizens are going to follow the law. That's the crazy part of all of this. So anyway, that's a debate for another day. The state psychiatric hospitals, big problems here. The Auditor General went in and said, look, we found all sorts of problems when it came to reporting the rights of psychiatric hospitals. And when things were being investigated, it was taking way longer than the law says it should be. Michael Weber, who asked for the audit, Senator Michael Weber, said the more we learn about Michigan's inpatient psychiatric care, the worse it gets. The state auditor confirms what patients and parents have been telling me repeatedly since I requested the audit. It's very clear that the Office of Recipient Rights under Department of Health and Human Services is failing to protect our most vulnerable seeking mental health care. So let's see if we can get the good senator on to talk about that, because I think it is an important conversation. Local school board candidates would need to declare a political party or run openly as an independent under legislation in a House committee. House Bill 4588 was promoted as a voter transparency measure at a time when candidates hide their political allegiances until they get elected, said bill sponsor Jason Wolford, Republican Howell. There is some truth to this. If you put a D or an R behind your name, people kind of say, oh, okay, I see how they lean or the way they think. Not necessarily down to the minutia, but you know what I'm saying. And if it's a nonpartisan, then it needs to be nonpartisan. Like our Supreme Court, this is one of the dumbest things. They're nominated by their political parties, Republican or Democrat, but then they have to run as nonpartisan. Well, they just got nominated by a political group. Shouldn't they be listed as a Republican or a Democrat? There's some truth to that. I hope there's some good conversation on that bill. 2 Michigan lawmakers have asked the Secretary of State for an interpretation on the campaign funds, and would they be allowed to be used to pay for security expenses during a campaign. Sarah Leitner, Rep. From Springport, Republican, and Stephanie Chang, Senator, Democrat from Detroit, is asking if this is something that campaign funds could be used for. In this world, heck yes. Depending on what's going on, you want to have a little security. I think the campaign should pay for it. Natural gas rates increase of more than $157 million for consumers' energy, and 2 power purchases from Detroit DTE for solar energy were approved by the MPSC. Today's decision reflects the Commission's responsibility to strike a careful and thoughtful balance between modernization of gas infrastructure and clean energy transitions. Okay, we'll skip that one because we're getting close on time. This is an interesting one. MDOT and the DNR are going to get together and study where animals cross the road, deer and bear and those sorts of things. Because I've always thought, they say deer crossing or bear crossing next X amount. How do they know the deer like to cross there? I don't know. But I guess other states have ways to get these animals across, whether it be a tunnel or a bridge over the top. I don't know. But they are going to study how to be able maybe do that. And this is in light of the State Farm report, the insurance company report, saying Michigan is the number 4 in most crashes with wildlife in the country. West Virginia is first, then Montana. Wisconsin is number 3, and we are number 4. So it'll be most deer collisions happen between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m., 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., with 9 p.m. to midnight being the third most. So we're heading into that time. Be careful out there. Let's see here. We can talk about that next week. That can be next week. I think we're just about at time. I had a lot to talk about by way of budget and that sort of thing. So we're wrapping up this week's journal. Know that we'll be posting this on socials here, hopefully by early afternoon, and we'll be back with you, of course, next week. Check me out on, Facebook. It's Jack O'Malley's Weekend Journal. I post everything there and that sort of thing. Love to have you check it on out. Enjoy this great weather. Getting ready for Halloween. I like it. The Weekend Journal on News Talk 580 WTCM. I'm Jack O'Malley. See you next week.